Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting here today with Rebecca McWilliams, who is a candidate running for a state rep for various wards here in Concord. We're having conversations about different aspects of the campaign and the situation here in our state and what her thoughts and ideas on some of this may be. So, Rebecca, welcome back.
Thank you.
I want to maybe chat a little bit about the sustainable energy market and the opportunities that we have here in the state to change our energy portfolio. Recently, there was an initiative to raise the cap or the limit of the size of clean energy projects, which is now sitting at 1 meg or megawatt, to raise that up to a 5 megawatt, which is a significant jump and maybe arbitrary in itself as well. But what do you see there as the issues or the opportunities for our residents?
Sure. So first of all, I think that the net metering cap being set at 1 megawatt was sort of an arbitrary, this is going to be the cap, and there wasn't a lot of thought behind why 1 megawatt for a single project was the cap. What I'm seeing in the state is that it's actually limiting us from being able to do solar panels on larger projects. So for example, if you have a high school that you could put panels across the entire roof, but the output is going to be more than a megawatt, suddenly it doesn't make sense from a cost perspective because it comes over the net metering cap. So I feel we're actually holding ourselves back as a state from doing some serious solar development, and I'm all for serious solar development because I think it's really important as a state for New Hampshire to be able to have some of its own energy autonomy. One of the things that I'm really interested in is incentivizing renewable energy, because I think that that really is the wave of the future. We're looking at a lot of young people making decisions about where they want to move, and part of that is the cost of energy and the type of community that they're moving to. So just as an example, we have seen a couple of projects that fall under the 1 megawatt net metering cap. For example, for a trailer park, you can do a ground-mounted array and get under the 1 megawatt, and then everyone in the trailer park is benefiting from being able to get that energy. So it's an opportunity to say, oh, hey, we've got some major ice storms coming this January, and when power comes out, that system has been set up with, say, a Tesla Powerwall, so they have backup battery, and they can still run. For young people who want to move to the state, there are a lot of really great things here, like the outdoors, trees, hiking, water. I mean, there are a million reasons to get outside in New Hampshire, but unfortunately that also comes with sometimes losing power. So using solar panels and backup batteries together in tandem to be able to get your energy and internet at any time really makes a huge difference for someone deciding to move to the state. And I can tell you, as a young person who needs internet to do my job, having that solar panel and backup battery makes all the difference in the world for me. So I'd like to do that and lead rather than being lagging compared to some of the other New England states. In addition, I mean, let's talk about some of these large and medium-sized businesses in New Hampshire that really could benefit from a solar array on their property, wherever they decide to put it. That would reduce the energy cost for those businesses and therefore allow them to free up that money to hire more people, to pay their employees a little bit better. We're talking about freeing up cash flow and helping small businesses as well. So I see this as a win-win for residents and businesses to increase the net metering cap to 5 megawatts. And honestly, we really should consider in 5 or 6 years, we may want to increase it again because there's really, it's like steps. There's really no reason to hold it back if there's a real surge of interest to go beyond 1 megawatt.
Right, in New Hampshire as well, we have a biomass industry, which is significant by some measure, but not compared to our overall use. And we import a tremendous amount of energy from outside our borders. My understanding is roughly 2/3 of the money we spend on energy leaves the state collectively. So we have an opportunity maybe there to create businesses within the state that will
the current situation with biomass is a little bit of a challenge. Governor Sununu did not sign the biomass bill, which effectively put 3 biomass businesses out of work. So those employees are going to have to find jobs elsewhere. As a small business owner myself, it is really hard to watch this play out and say, oh, the state just decided to arbitrarily change their policy on biomass, so my business goes under. That's really terrible policy making. There's no way to slice that. Obviously, I would like to override that and make sure that the biomass continues. I won't be elected in time to make that vote, but if we get an opportunity later to incentivize New Hampshire businesses and creating local carbon energy that continues the carbon cycle and stays here in New Hampshire, I think biomass is an acceptable form of energy, and I would support continuing that. Just it may be too little too late for some of these small businesses, and that's really unfortunate. That's very bad policy.
I think I also hear stories about the shortage of opportunity in the North Country. It seems to me that there would be some solutions there for people that have a lot of trees to harvest and other
absolutely.
residual products from millwork and whatnot.
Solar and remote work. I mean, look at what Vermont is doing right now. Vermont is currently actively recruiting people who have remote jobs somewhere in the 50 states in the US. Vermont would like them to move to Vermont, and we'll pay them $10,000 for moving there, provided they come with their own remote work from somewhere else. Well, New Hampshire could be another option, not saying we need to pay new citizens to New Hampshire $10,000, but we are a beautiful place to live, and we have lots of opportunities and great close-knit communities. Why not incentivize remote work for Coos County? Why not?
Mm-hmm. So New Hampshire has always been somewhat of a maverick in our past, introducing things like fireworks sales and low costs for alcohol and tobacco. Maybe you know where I'm going with this, but it seems like states surrounding New Hampshire are adopting more lenient stances on marijuana for medical purposes and even recreational purposes. Rebecca, what is your stance on the medical marijuana issue or marijuana in general?
Mm-hmm. So from a personal perspective, my husband is a cancer survivor, and I have seen medical marijuana work in situations where people are in a lot of pain. It alleviates many of the issues. I also don't believe that marijuana is nearly as bad as some of the other drugs that we currently see on the market in New Hampshire. So I do support legalizing marijuana. I also think that the state should tax it. It's a great opportunity for us to find some of these funds that we're scrounging for on issues like education and healthcare. So I do support legalization. I do support taxation. I do not support the state being the vendor of marijuana. I think New Hampshire has been in the news a lot lately for doing some pretty underhanded things when it comes to alcohol sales. I'm concerned about bootlegging. I'm concerned about cash transactions, and unfortunately things are looking not so great right now for the State Alcohol Commission. So I really would not want to put marijuana sales under that same bucket.
So do you think there's room for improvement in the Liquor Commission and its various and sundry outlets and processes?
I mean, I'm going to keep coming back to this. I'm a small business owner. I want to incentivize small businesses. I think the state having a monopoly on liquor sales is short-sighted. I really would rather see small businesses be able to take on liquor sales and be able to add that to the products that they're offering. So at this point, I would say no, I don't think there's an opportunity for the state to do a better job. I think there's an opportunity for small businesses to do a better job with the same sales.
Yeah, so an opportunity to support small business and business growth is also an opportunity to help create jobs.
Yes.
You see in the media also comments about the silver tsunami and the refuge for older folks coming to New Hampshire.
Right, no income tax. There's
yeah,
that.
no income tax, but it seems hard, I think, for young people to get a start here or to stay here for a number of reasons. Mm-hmm. Aside from rebuilding the Liquor Commission or something, what do you think about having a more attractive environment to retain our young workers and create opportunity for people to come to New Hampshire for a place to live, raise a family, and have a meaningful career and productive
Absolutely.
life?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm a boomerang. I lived in Webster, New Hampshire for 4 years, and then I went to Boston to go to Suffolk Law and get my degree. I became a lawyer, and then I came back to New Hampshire. I chose to come back. And I would like to see more of my friends and neighbors and colleagues who have scattered across New England and across the US decide to come back. So the big factors that these returnees or first-time young people coming to New Hampshire, the big factors they're looking at are obviously jobs. Right now, New Hampshire has a lot of jobs, which is great, but they may not be the jobs that these young people are looking for. It's a matching issue as well. Obviously, they're looking at housing, and that is a really complex issue that has to do with zoning, which is more of a local issue, funding, and it does also have to do with property taxes. Someone coming to the state is comparing property taxes between Pittsfield and Concord, and they're seeing very different numbers per thousand. So that's a concern. And then finally, in addition, they're really looking at childcare. If they want to start a family in the state, they got to find somewhere that they have a network. They have an opportunity to get someone to step in and help with the kids if it's a two-parent working family. And that's the situation I'm in, where I really feel like I'm always pinched for childcare, and I'm in a very fortunate situation to have family to help with that. But still, it's one of the things that I think on the state level we can look at incentivizing child care centers and making sure that New Hampshire has a really great reputation for child care compared to some of the other choices that these young people are looking at. Because let's face it, we don't want to have the brain drain. We don't want to be losing young people to other states. We want to be competitive, and we want to continue growing our population to sustain where we're at right now. We're going to see a huge drop-off in the next 25, 30 years because the reality is we're not going to have people living much past 110. So that's the way it's going to go. And then what? We've got a huge cliff. So I think we want to make New Hampshire a really great state to raise a family in, to start a business, to be involved in. And I think Concord has done a really good job of creating a welcoming community. I think we're one of the leaders when it comes to different locations in New Hampshire. But I also think we could do a better job. We still have issues here in Concord with affordability of housing and property taxes. Both of those, unfortunately, are at the municipal level, but I'm hearing that a lot as I'm knocking doors and meeting voters. That's really a concern, is property tax and housing cost.
All right. So have you any closing thoughts for our listeners here today, our viewers?
I do, yes. Thank you, John. So first, I just wanted to say that I have been endorsed by the New Hampshire Young Democrats as the candidate in this race to watch and hopefully, if you choose to, research, vote for. And I'm really looking forward to meeting many of you in person as I'm going around town to events and talking about my platform and my issues and things I'd like to do. And then hearing from you, really, what is it that you're worried about in Concord? What are your issues? What can we work together on to make it a better place for all of us to live?
Sounds good. So if you weren't aware, there is a primary election coming up September 11th. The polls are open here in Concord from 7 in the morning till 7 in the afternoon. And if you're not sure where your polling station might be, the City of Concord does have a website where you can simply punch in your address, and the address for your polling station will pop right up. So get out there and do your public service and cast a vote. My colleague here today, Rebecca McWilliams, is running again as a state rep for the Concord area for several different wards here. If she comes and knocks on your door, say hello and ask her any question you would like. So thank you.